Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, if you did want to join these shows live, you'll need to subscribe to my second channel, which is called Nathan Oakley, link in the comments and info box below this video. I'm also going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Yun Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Owen Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Guitar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballas, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a few people in both G Plus and Discord panels, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hey, Travis?
Yeah, hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bev's here. I think Travis is here too.
Yeah, we've got Travis, we've got Bev.
Yeah, good to talk to you.
Good to have
Morning,
you.
Travis.
You've usually got a purpose, Bev. What's the score today?
Pardon, is that you breaking up or is that my connection?
Your connection. Well, I hope so. Let's just check my desk. Hold on. I'll reset the desk. It might be that.
You're coming through fine for me.
Okay, I've reset the desk anyway.
Yeah, Travis is breaking up there. Let me reset mine, please.
No worries. Yeah, you drop and rejoin and do what you got to do. One of those things, even though these pre-shows are now going out on the main channel, it is the pre-show, right? It's going to be sound checking and making sure things work. It can't always be a fantastic conversation immediately. So my apologies to those of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience. This is just the way it goes on a pre-show. Typically, this is on... Go on.
It's just like my dog every morning. He's got to stretch before he runs.
Right, exactly. It's just this would typically go out to the more focused audience, shall we call them? So the watch time and dedication, if you like, from the second channel tends to be greater than the first, or the bigger channel doesn't have quite as much dedication, let's put it that way. There might be more tertiary subscribers. Anyway, for that reason, you don't want the pre-show to necessarily go out to the main audience. Obviously, I don't want that. I just want the live show and the best bits to go out live to the main or biggest audience, and that be it. And then these extra bits, the setup, the sound checks, the dull bits before the live show can go out to the second audience who are prepared to sit in the chat while the show warms up, right? But since we've been cobbled in terms of our live exposure, I've done it the other way around, but it doesn't change the fact that the pre-show's still the pre-show. It's still this, right? It doesn't matter. But obviously I want it to be the best content possible because this is now going out to the main audience. So it used to be on a Thursday. You guys wouldn't get told, look, increase the enthusiasm because this is going to be going out to the main audience. But on a Friday I would, because we'd start on the second channel, right? So I'd be like, okay, right, this is going out live on the second channel, but this bit's going to be on the main channel, so let's be a bit more enthusiastic for the start of the show. But obviously, since I've dropped the second shows, periodically sort of paired them back, I've never had to say to you, look, this is going out on the main show, this bit, so let's be really enthusiastic. I'm not going to. This is a temporary measure. I'm not going to start, drumming up masses of enthusiasm immediately when everyone's just woken up. There's no point. But by the same token, it's only a temporary measure. I'm now explaining it to the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience why this might be a slightly slower show in the beginning bits.
Crack that whip.
Well, it took me a while.
Took you a while.
It took me a while to catch on. Yeah, it took me a while to catch on when you started offering the pre-show and after-show. And when I did, I realized how awesome it was. I'm like, oh shit, man! I'm never gonna miss this again. So,
it's an acquired taste.
I don't watch the live shows very much. Well, once I got caught up to date, right? Once I got caught up to date, I'll participate. I'll watch the live show, and when the afternoon airing comes out, then I'll get in there and watch that if I can. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do, as weird as it sounds. Obviously, you're in the same boat as me. You're participating in the production of the show. But I very rarely go back and watch the live show over. Whereas, obviously, most people are aware that I'm sat in the Uncut and After show chatting with people. But normally, I kind of switch off to these bits. Typically because they're like, is your level working? Is Discord working? Let's turn things up. Let's turn things down, etc., etc. I'll just be in the chat saying, hello, please share this. This is a good show, etc. The after show's this long or whatever. But it is an acquired taste because of the slow start to the pre-show, which is typically where most people will join in, right? They'll start at the beginning. That makes sense.
Yep. That's true. No, it's good to get the live show out there. It's it's not so daunting. It's an hour, and then they really get some good juicy bits. Get a good a good lecture or two, and get to think on it until they watch the next episode. And it's the best content I've ever come across.
Oh, well, thank
in
you very
my
much.
35 years.
Oh, that's really sweet of you.
Oh, I'm genuine, man. I'm serious. I've never enjoyed something so much. So, thank you.
I'm hooked on it also. I watch my own show, as I just said, and I thoroughly enjoy watching the show. It's entertainment for me. It's not just because I'm enjoying the sound of my own voice, although that's why I'm on YouTube, right? I've got to have that kind of personality to be doing this in the first instance, and anybody who denies it is a liar, because that's why you're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's add to that content. Bev, we were talking about shapes, geometry, and the Discord and some of these ballers. You want to share that?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that bit. Travis just said then that it's the brain stimulation that you get from this.
Yeah, this is the Flat Earth Armory.
Yep. That's the hook for me. The actual mental stimulation that the hearing the conversations that go on. Fantastic. But back to the geometry that they've lost, which I've been dealing with all the time, is the geometry, and you get it down to a simple level, where they don't like the simple facts that level is horizontal. It's a known fact. But now I've got it down to the fact that a perpendicular within Euclidean geometry, if you take it that geometry is how you get proofs. When they say within maths you can get proofs, you can gain proofs. Well, geometry is the place that you gain them proofs. That you can prove Pythagoras' theorem. You can, there are proofs within geometry that prove themselves. So within Euclidean geometry, there is a proof that says a perpendicular line bisects another line with 4 right angles. That's what a perpendicular is. Now, they say that horizontal and vertical are perpendicular, which if they are, then geometrically they have to be parallel. There's no other way they can do it. So with the ballers losing the whatever fantasy maths that they've always had with this through the curve calculator or whatever, it's a fantastical idea, but they have to use Euclidean triangles in order to do any of their measurements. And that's proved that Euclidean geometry would prove that verticals don't intersect. It just can't. And a horizontal can't intersect within Euclidean geometry. So they're getting really upset at the fact that just asking them the question, which geometry are you using? Because I can give them a proof that it's not Euclidean geometry. Euclidean geometry would actually prove a parallel plane model. Very simple. That's how surveyors work.
It's a question that I regret not asking during the Isle of Man discussion. I don't know if you were around while that was happening.
I've heard you just sort of mention it a bit more recently, but I mean, I think it's the geometry question has been brought into the forefront through the Black Swan, hasn't it?
Precisely. It's not something that necessarily hadn't been argued about or even discussed, because we had the Black Swan image up when it was a new image and discussed it and talked about where the horizon was positioned. And we discussed the geometry at great length in the Isle of Man discussion. But we hadn't put the two together. Now the Black Swan has, as you say, pushed it right to the forefront. The failings of the geometry, the contradiction within what they claim as their geometry, if they were to ever disclose what they're actually using and how they're not using it. You know, they're not abiding by the rules of that geometry anymore. Ergo, their geometry is fundamentally broken. The model becomes untenable. But it's going to take time, and people like yourself, Bev, to point this out over and over again, as you've been doing anyway. I have watched and listened to you, but again, you're discussing geometry, and you kind of take things that people say in isolation. You don't necessarily have the wider wider picture when someone's detailing something that's specific. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the Black Swan is something that's widened the appeal of the geometric argument to the point where most people can understand it given enough time. And the crux of the argument is the basis of which you've been arguing about all along and how it doesn't work. Ergo, it debunks the geometric model.
Yeah, I think the fact that it sounds complicated, Euclidean geometry, when you hear it, it sounds, ooh, that's a bit fancy. But the basis of it are so simple that it's easy to understand as long as you can detach yourself from the thought that it's complicated. And that's the problem that you have to deal with. You know, that people think it's far more complicated than it actually is.
That's because we're told that. So if you imagine the higher level fundies that oppose us, their ad hom of choice, opening ad hom often, is you don't understand geometry. That's what they'll tell you, making you perceive a complicated issue when they're describing it in the complicated manner that they do when it's done through the curve calculator. I don't know if it's intentionally complicated, but certainly the layout is designed to bamboozle people who are amateurs.
Yeah. Well, when you take it down to the simple fact that, last year, me and the lad, we went to do the Bedford level test so we sat on the canal with the camera out, and I'm thinking, because I've got a bit of a building background, so I come from a surveyor's type view on it, and I'm thinking, what the canal is a horizontal water level. It is a water level. So it confused me as to what exactly was going on and what, how. So I then started thinking, well, I could actually measure this. I mean, people are just doing it by looking and visually citing stuff. And I thought I could measure this. And if I go up there and measure a level all the way along and drop it back down to the water level, and then I thought, oh, what would I be doing then? Would I be checking that the water level is in fact horizontal?
Yes, and the tools that you'd use to do it, what would the tools that you use to do it involve?
Well, I would use a water level.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The whole thing is kind of pointless, and I completely agree with you. Every time somebody's done it, I'm like, well, what are you going to do to measure this? What are you going to use to establish it? What tools have you got? What, the level?
Yeah. Have you seen the way I set up my water level test, though?
No, talk me through it.
Well, you know what a water level is. It's just a massive tube with 2 vials on the top that you fill up with water, and it will establish a horizontal plane.
You showed us an image of it last time you did a press. It might not have been you, actually. It might have been somebody else. But nevertheless, yes, we've had that image on screen, although I don't have it to hand.
Okay, so if you imagine one at one end of a canal and one at the other end of the canal, and you put it in the canal, and then you lift it up a bit. So the vials will be showing at either end of the canal whatever distance above the water level in the canal. Let's say 5 inches. Now, if you was to get another water level or 2 more water levels and go from the outside but go towards the center with your water level, then the water levels within the thing would have to be horizontal, because that's what a water level does. It establishes a horizontal plane. But if the center bit was to rise, then you would see that within the 2 inside water levels. I have actually set it out as a test, and I've drawn it out a fair few times. Can I give you a picture of one? If I can try and find one. I should have come a bit more prepared.
No, that's fine. Don't panic about it. If you want to dig out a picture, feel free. But verbally, it's you're doing an exceptionally good job. Don't worry.
Can you understand that? You know, the difference would, if the water level were to curve, then there would have to be a difference within the center of where the water is and the outsides. Would you agree that you know, in order to judge a curvature, there would have to be a difference within the horizontal plane that is established through a water level?
Sure. What you're saying is, if you've got a starting point at one end of the canal and another, we'll call it also a starting point at the other end of the canal, and they're both showing as level at each point, to establish a curve, you've got to have it be raised up in the middle.
Yes. Yeah, because initially when I started asking the ballers on which model would they choose a rise to a fall to end up as a level point, or is it a constant fall away with the water level? So it already starts to sound really weird when you start asking the ballers this question: what happens to the water level from the position they are?
Well, I can answer that mathematically speaking. So each observation point would be started with the assumption that you're at the top of the sphere and you're looking down towards your, horizon point, wherever that may be, because it's falling away from you based on you being at the top of the sphere. Now, their mathematics would automatically fall apart because you have to do both at starting point. That's why I called them both starting points. So starting point at the one end of the canal, you start measuring out how much the Earth is falling away from you, because they're actually measuring perspective, towards the centre point. If that's what you're going to measure from the other end, when you have another starting point, measuring how much the Earth is curving away from you. So they're both curving away from you, both starting points curving down towards the middle. So you should have a downward drop towards the centre of the canal based on both measurements. Now, obviously, their measurements are only going to be done in isolation, one particular observation point, not two simultaneously. They're both starting points. So you'll never end up with a situation where their mathematics is being utilised in that manner. You just start the maths fresh from both. Well, it's falling away from one side. Now let's scratch that and start again. Well, it's falling away from the other side, 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah, you're always going downhill on water.
Yeah, it's just the effect of perspective. So at the beginning of this discussion from yourself, you've got the picture of the wind turbines when Ranty detailed this 3 years ago now. And he's got the wind turbines falling away with perspective. Always claimed to be Earth curve, measurable in the maths as the 8 inches per mile squared, presumed Earth curve falling away in the form of those turbines falling away with perspective. And then you put them side on, and they're all absolutely perfectly level. But the mathematics is purely a hijacking of perspective effects to replace that with the claim of a physical geometric earth curve obstruction called the horizon, and a drop from your position at 8 inches per mile squared in rough mathematics.
The water level takes all of that away from them, takes the sight away. You don't need a line of sight with the water level between the 2 points.
No, it cocks everything up though, because you're speaking with a level of redundancy that fundies will nod along with, and with us, it's just like you've been saying the whole time. Well, this doesn't make any sense. I'm going to establish whether or not the water level is level. It's like it's water. It's a canal.
Yeah, can you see the pictures I've put in the thing? Because it's quite interesting, because I've did my water level test and showed them horizontal, but these pictures have been done by a so-called maths teacher. So she's mapped it onto a curve to show how she imagines it to work. So she's geometrically shown us what her idea is, which I've pointed out proves that the verticals and the horizontals within Euclidean geometry don't work. So she's basically proved through geometry that there's only one viable option for this particular water level test geometrically. Why it's one of my proofs that the water level is horizontal. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a proof if I was absolutely certain, if I wasn't absolutely certain that it's an actual proof. This test could be done, but there'd be no point in doing it, because all you'd prove is that water level is horizontal.
Which we should appreciate at a fundamental level when you watch, if you're standing on a riverbank and you're looking down the river, or the canal in this instance, as is probably the best example, several miles, I think it's 5 miles, non-stop straight. No, nevertheless, when you're looking down that water, you'll see the water below your feet, if you're standing on the edge of the canal, rising up to the horizon. Not falling away, rising up with perspective. And the trees that are above you, if there's a row of trees, we'll assume there is in this particular example, going down the side of the canal bank, well, they're going to get smaller, the ones that are above you, and come down towards the horizon. All effects of perspective. But the things getting smaller and smaller and smaller into the distance are just alleged by the way of them falling away according to their mathematics as being on the side of a sphere edge when you look at it like we're looking at this picture that you've given us. You know, you're looking side on. You're never looking down it. It's always Muppet vision.
Hold on. Are you saying perspective is a real thing and not something flat earthers made up?
Yeah, it's not
not something that's just in art class, like I was told.
No, when we were pointing this out to them 2 or 3 years ago in the Isle of Man discussion, we were told this is a geometric calculation. You don't need perspective in this. And then they hand wave it by calling it flurfspective. Now we get told when we absolutely pummel people like AB Science, well, I was talking about optics. It's like, well, your maths isn't, moron.
It's the geometry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's geometric. Or it should be. Apparent horizon. Yeah, no, not geometric then, morons. Hello.
It takes them into a strange place, this. You know, the idea that the horizontal and vertical, like, what they have to do is we take a normal plumb bob and a level tool, the water level, as a horizontal and a vertical, and know that they are perpendicular. But in their idea of their model of some fantasy geometry that they start playing, they swap that. The vertical then becomes a radius, and a horizontal becomes a tangent to a surface of some unknown origin R value that they magic out of nowhere, but then still play the normal vertical horizontal rules. Can you see that picture that 10th put in? Because I went to look on Wiki.
Just 1 sec. I'm going to start the live show, so
what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media, particularly important at the moment as these live shows are going out to a fairly limited audience. But also, it increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Bev, Chocolate Saiyan, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Any signs of a physical geometric Earth curve edge, formerly known as the horizon?
No,
Formerly known
and
as
no
the
one here
horizon,
to defend
formerly
why
known
we
as the
lost
curve.
it.
Yeah, formerly known as Earth curve. One of the, I don't know, if you want to check out the videos or go to his channel and check it out on his channel, DATRH, or Darth, play on the...
I saw he came out with another one.
Yeah, he did a
Quarantine version.
right. He did a quarantine edition of Globe Earth Dictate, and in the quarantine edition, if you check out his very first frame, it's got like a piss take of my shop, which is very neglected at the moment. I've got to be honest, and it's. Let's not get into that. Anyway, he's got a screenshot of like all the different products from his piss take shop, and one of the items is geometric horizon, and it says photo not found.
No, does it? I didn't see it.
You've got
I
to,
gotta go back and look.
from past experience with his videos, when he's released stuff in the past, you go back to it, and or somebody pointed out to me, "Oh, did you notice this in the chat feed that's going by?" You're like, no, I didn't really pay any attention to that. Or did you notice this in the video? Did you notice that in the video? So on this occasion, as soon as I saw it, I was like, right, I'm going to watch it twice, and I'm going to look at all the things that are non-verbal and visual rather than listening to it the second time around. So I'm reading all the chat and reading his, he's actually commenting in his own chat. The guy who makes the videos. So Darth is in there chatting. And some of the things he said right towards the end of his chat stream were profound. And I was a little bit, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, go and read it. I've just called it Globe Earth Dictate on my version, and there's a link to his channel below if you want to go and subscribe him. You should. He puts a lot of work into these videos. But yeah, check out what he writes at the end, right near the end of his chat feed, in terms of what we can do going forward. And it gave me a real insight to the guy himself and what's on his mind. And it was quite eye-opening. So that was the only time. They're always very funny, and everything in that chat feed was funny, especially the CIA comments. Just very, very funny. But yeah, his comments I paid particular attention to, because he's actually named himself in there. It's like Darth is making a comment in his own chat feed, so I paid quite close attention to what he actually had to say, and it was quite humbling in some ways. But yeah, check it out. It's called Globe Earth Dictate by DATRH channel. So, any signs of any Earth curvature?
Not from Morongo Valley.
Not from any valley.
Not from Hollywood.
An Earth curvature model, but we don't live on one of those.
No one can ask me. Yeah, Hollywood's just down the road from me. Anyway. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope.
Check it out. 53 dedicated live viewers who've actually foraged their way to find this live show. So thank you very much to all who've tuned in. Hello, Arwin.
Hello.
Silence,
Get
Legolas.
a YouTube update.
Silence.
Legolas.
What? I just came here.
Go
Yeah,
on, Aaron.
and-
I'm
and-
sorry.
And technically, yeah, you know what? A dying corona cat is not a person. So
Get out.
Schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic is a real person. Add it to the Corona count. He's dropped out. I think he's got a connection problem. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
nope.
Question gets me down.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Negative.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, no evidence.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Where's Flatzoid with his marshmallow comet?
Kui Center.
I think it's safe to say that the conception of the molten iron core at the center of presupposed spherical Earth is about as presuppositionally conceptual as the vastness of outer space, with all the stars being literal giant objects in super far distances. I think it's on the same scale of presuppositional thinking.
It's pretty out there. I agree. It's right up there with on the bullshit-o-meter. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Well, the ballers seem to think they can prove it by bringing a container and trying to prove it with a container, which is the height of insanity.
I'll just repeat the question. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
That's the word they're missing.
Well, you start with a container, and then you do something in that container, and then you claim that you got gas pressure without a container. That seems to
Precisely,
be-
Arwen.
Yeah, that's how they do it these days.
Third time a charm. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Okay, no.
All right, so for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe that outer space is real and is a sky vacuum, it isn't. It's a violation of natural law. Outer space is fake, as are all pictures and travel claimed to have taken place there. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius, discussed in the pre-show with Bev?
So what if the radius is slightly bigger or something? You know, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, and at best, all we've done is debunk the radius.
At best.
At
Right.
best.
So what if the radius turns out to be a little bigger? You know, what does that matter?
A little bit bigger, like the distance to the moon, bigger.
Only 264,000 miles. I mean, that's
Yeah, but
that's nothing.
you can think of it as the radius hasn't been destroyed if you want to.
Yeah, you can still...
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't. R has been absolutely obliterated and made the model completely untenable. So, unfortunately, no, this isn't one of those times where you can think of it as not being smashed to oblivion. It has been. There is no evidence of R.
Yeah, but gravity's not a force. You can think of it as a force.
Yeah, but in that instance, you can also think of it as a roast chicken.
Oh no,
do you
we
think-
actually need a subject matter expert to say that first, right?
I'm a subject matter... hold on, we got 10th man. Do you farm chickens?
I have.
You know what? If people would be encouraged to think of gravity as a roast chicken, it might actually help its popularity. Because roast chicken is nice, right?
Well, I can pluck one of my answers if you'd like, but I think it's self-explanatory.
Look, if you're just going to give us these poultry answers... if you're going to give us
Do
a
you
poultry
think-
answer, then...
Do you think Richard Branson's going to return the deposits on those space flights on the previous questions now that the radius is bigger?
Just charge more for fuel.
That's a good one.
He'll have to get more money. But Oh, wait, did I miss something? What'd you say? Fuel?
Just a joke.
Well, it's kind of a funny joke though, because technically, do they really measure the amount of fuel spent in an airplane when pre-calculating the price of tickets based on literally like your car in your gas with the meter? Oh, like it's this amount, that amount. No, I don't think so. They just calculate it based on the supposed distance the plane is gonna travel. So
But that's how they proved that we went to the moon. Didn't you hear Neil Smoke deGrasse Tyson? He said
The size-
because somebody calculated how much fuel that it took for them to go to the moon, therefore it had to have happened.
right. That was
There you
not
go.
my point, but good point. No, but my point is that if the radius would suddenly officially become bigger, then they would probably add up on a little price. Like that.
My
But they
favourite of
calculate.
all, my favourite claim when it comes to the assertion that we've been to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum is to say that it would be more difficult to fake it than to just do it, therefore it's real.
I had a whole debate with Kosho one time about that same subject, and he clearly said that it would be more difficult to fake it. I was like, what the hell? How does that even make sense, man? You guys just live in a fantasy world. Ridiculous.
That concludes the housekeeping anyway, so thank you very much.
Only
Another-
10 minutes.
Yeah, that's okay. It's good sometimes to have a concise... Yesterday we didn't even get through all of them. You know, we were into discussing quantum mechanics for 70% of the live show. I don't
Yeah.
mind going through some of the housekeeping and it spanning into a very interesting conversation. Sometimes we just rattle our way through them. The idea is
That's
to rattle
right.
your way through them. They're housekeeping questions. They should be done in 5 minutes.
How come those?
But sometimes it's just important to suddenly out of nowhere emphasize that not all diffraction is the same.
How come those light topics take longer?
Because it's very complicated.
Yeah,
Just like optics is.
agreed.
Should we continue
Because-
geometry?
They're not light topics. They're actually heavy.
Boom, boom. Anyway, let's not rehash the entire quantum mechanics discussion from yesterday. If you want to check out, what number were we on today? 1131, is it? Or is that yesterday?
32,
So
1132.
yeah, check out 1131 if you want to see the quantum mechanics discussion between Adam, myself, Arwin, and late in the game, Quantum Eraser. And also Rebel. It was quite a fun conversation yesterday, I've got to admit. It was too much to trim out, because it was that's my original intention was to trim it out, because I was like trying to make a concise point, but Arwin wasn't having any of it. So that it didn't end up being something trim outable. You'd have to listen to the whole discussion, which is just as fine. You know, I'd rather recommend the entire debate. And it's like, yeah, you can get into a fairly in depth.
Yesterday's show was well worth listening back. Really.
Yeah,
thought it was
I certainly enjoyed listening to it. Listening to it back, I should say. But yeah, I don't want to rehash it again today. Let's hope we go into a different direction. I just spent the evening chuckling about various different comments on TRH's video. You know, Quantum Eraser does his presentation, and as he scrolls down, in brackets it says anticipated vanilla saying interruption.
Yeah. Yep. Although he didn't really interrupt it, he actually just added to it.
No, it was perfect. It was exactly as it was. There was nothing wrong with his interruption, because the preceding comment was to say it's a coin toss whether or not if you heat water up it'll boil, right? And then Vanilla saying says, yeah, I stick my ramen noodles in, I press the microwave on, and it's a coin toss whether or not they come out nice and warm and fluffy or come out crunchy.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Oh my god.
That was great.
But I love that they have Vanilla say always interrupting quantum entanglement. In quantum entanglement, it's always very so very nice.
Yeah, he says I love you at the end. He says you can trust me, I'm from the future, and then he's got Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
Just like
Brilliant.
he's just done the parody so perfectly. It's like, because You think about it, Quantum Race has got the Terminator, and he's like, back in the day when he first released the intro, he's like, yeah, I've come from the future to set the world straight, or something like that, just as a fun, aside. But that's just like his little logo that he's got and has it in the backdrop to his videos. So he's got the Terminator. So to change that to Universal Soldier, and one of them, instead of having like a decent face put on it, it's just got the smiley face. Just like, what? I've come from the future. I'm a Unisol.
Unisol. Yep. Yeah, it was awesome. Shout out to DATRH.
Yep.
Keep them coming, man.
I thought the Snoozing Soldier was also like, it seems like that character is more developed, even. Becoming
Yes.
his own
Sleeping
thing.
Warrior guy.
Like,
I noticed Deborah was missing.
oh yeah,
I'm sure she'll
right.
return. Well, the Discord server was shut down because free speech was not allowed at this particular juncture. So the Discord server says shut down because free speech between citizens is deemed unnecessary.
Yep.
I didn't even see. See, I just watched it one time, and like I really have to watch it again and go over it. Because you're right, with like the chats, he'll throw like funny shit into the chat. You won't even know if you didn't look.
You have to watch it once without sound and just pay attention to what's going on screen. Pause it at various different bits. That's the thing that I like. So I'm really into having something that's clearly taken probably 20 minutes work, that first opening screen with all the different products on it. All the different face masks of varying different qualities, but they're all the same picture, just a different price. Just saying, yeah, this one's better quality.
Oh, and did you see the Elon Musk toilet paper?
Yeah. Instead, it's
I
got the
didn't
Magna
see that.
Carta
No,
or
you
something.
didn't. It's the first.
No.
It's the first.
I didn't look. I didn't do like the close up like I did with the first one.
I think it's got something like the Magna Carta or something like that. I couldn't quite make it out. It's too small, but like a really important old document, and it says toilet paper substitute.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the Fifth Amendment. In any event, it was just, like I say, an old important document that's now just been deemed toilet paper substitute.
I'm pretty sure it was the Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights, that was it. Yeah. Wipe your ass with this.
Funniest part is all the icons had the masks on.
Yeah, they've all got a mask.
They're all scared.
Yeah, a lot of work, and like I say, that opening screen's probably on about the same time as I have mine on for a fraction of a second, and then it goes to the opening intro. Thought crime is not death, or something like that. So that's talking about thought crime, or thought crime is not punishable by death. Thought crime is death.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god, so good.
Just good because I don't like that subject. I don't want to cover the subject because either you've got to be pro, I'm terrified of it, or con, I think it's a complete hoax. And I don't really want to express either on a show about the nature of Earth. That's the nature of propaganda, and it's just not this show's bag, right? We don't really do that here, or I'll try and avoid doing that here. Whereas with that, it's a complete parody. He's taking the piss. So he's saying, things like some of the conspiracy theorists are saying at the moment. So you've got him saying you shouldn't for any moment assume that the government has changed the statistics from cold and seasonal flu. But he's saying you should not think that. No, this is no time for paranoia. But obviously he's saying it sarcastically. But I don't know. I just think it was genius, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with such humour. I couldn't do it in the way he parodied it. I couldn't do it with anything like that kind of quality. So I admire somebody that's got that much skill, but far beyond my level.
He took a lot of time writing that. You got to see that. Did he looked over that text very, very, very carefully many times to get it absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And he's drawn up the presentation that QE's doing and edited it into the screen, along with the chat running alongside, all the different face masks, people joining. It was an editing, I can imagine it was a lot of editing, a lot of work, a lot of voice work, camera work, everything you could imagine. And it's like 7 minutes of probably, I don't know, lots of hours of pouring your heart and soul into something that's come, and like every YouTube video 3 days from now will be forgotten about.
Nah, you will not be forgotten.
No, I'm not saying he will, but I'm just saying most people, YouTube videos are fairly easy come, easy go, right? They're disposable. On the whole. Some people are lucky and get viral videos that last an eternity, but on the whole, that's not the case.
Mine are edible. They're not disposable.
10th man dishes.
Yep.
10th man, who sings your theme song?
You like it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not very long or whatever, but it's nice.
No, that's my daughter. That's my daughter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he got his daughter to sing for him and his wife to cook for him.
I knew you were going to say. Are you saying
I'm-
he's not cooking his cuckoo?
He's not doing anything.
No,
He's just sat in his chair telling
I
everyone to do
Didn't
anything.
perform any cooking act so far in the video. So.
Chocolate, I may be cuckoo, but I go cuckoo for my cuckoo puffs.
Yeah, man.
I agree.
That's good.
I've always said, if everybody does a little, I don't have to do anything.
That's right. So we've got Bev still wanting to finish his point, and there's a screenshot of Master B.
Are you calling me?
Yeah. Didn't you want to finish? You were saying there's a picture that I put up, but we never got to because we had to start the show.
Yeah. I was listening to them. I did watch that Darth thing, and I did find it funny as well. He's got a brilliant sense of humour, hasn't he?
Yes, very good. Right, I've got 10th man's image. Well, nearly there. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this goes back to the geometry problem that they have. I wanted to point out that the radius that you have within Euclidean geometries defined from a center point and then the radius. And then the outer point of the radius on their model is a horizontal, which is fantastic. That when you think at the end of R, that's what they have, a horizontal plane surface.
One of you read out what's on screen. It's just the previous message to your message, if you want to read it.
Sorry, I'm trying to hang out.
On a spherical planet, it starts.
Oh, that's the wiki picture, isn't it? So, yeah, within wiki they have on the spherical model. So their spherical model that they have has a horizontal that comes out from the pole, and also a horizontal that comes from the equator. So they have intersecting horizontals that are perpendicular. Now, I don't know. Not in any sort of geometry that I think of, but I mean that's actually what it says. I don't understand which geometry that is possible on.
Globe geometry. Now debunked.
Yeah, it's not like a geometry can give you a proof of how it works. That's the whole point of geometry. It gives you proofs, or it proves itself within everything other than the axioms is provable within geometry, or within Euclidean geometry anyway. So this I don't understand the geometry which enables them to have a horizontal that intersects a horizontal, because I don't know, in my reality view of the world, a vertical and a horizontal, they are real terms, real life words that are used not necessarily through geometry on the paper, the geometry would explain what a perpendicular is, and how the straight lines work through the geometry, whereas a vertical and a horizontal are real life terms, definable by a plumb line and a level. So I can't see how they can use geometry that doesn't fit them terms. That's basically where we're getting to. But when you ask a baller something like this, there's something strange that happens, because they automatically say, "Oh yeah, that's what happens," but they have no way to prove it. They don't understand the proofs that geometry gives you. Leaves them in a very strange situation of how do you prove that?
You don't. You've
No,
described it in
they
the pre-show.
can't.
They assume the radius value and then apply it to an observation. But they bastardize what's actually being calculated by putting it in Muppet Vision, like this, side on. It should have been
Well, I'd say
spotted. It should have been spotted when they started refracting things using the non-geometric values. That should have been the point that the alarm bells went off. But like any smear over the top of a lie, initially people gobble it up. And that's what we did, you know. Oh, right, so you're using your bog standard geometry, and you're drawing a straight line to a physical obstruction, and then what's that? You say the targets we're looking at, they're all refracted up to this point where you've got this physical geometry with straight lines. You should have spotted it then.
It's surveyors use Euclidean geometry. Everybody uses Euclidean geometry. Whenever you measure a distance to anywhere, you would assume a right angle triangle in order to, then you can work trigonometry for your angles and all the things like that. So you have to have the vertical and the horizontal of the bottom of the triangle being straight lines and perpendicular to each other to form a right angle triangle. So any measurement that you ever make is performed when using Euclidean geometry. Now, I'm not aware of any way that they could use a measurement within Euclidean geometry in order to disprove the geometry itself, because you would have to disprove that vertical and horizontal are perpendicular to each other.
In other words, they're working against the axioms that the maths they're using is based on.
Yeah, they just completely forget about the rules of the geometry that they pretend that they use.
Shout out to Cleary, who says the geometric horizon is not geological.
Yeah, big shout out to the Black Swan, because the Black Swan has exposed this fundamental problem that they have with the geometry. That just the word that once they've realized they've lost the geometric horizon, then it's time to re-look at the actual geometry that you're using. And you find that it's Euclidean, and everybody, please just have a look at it. It's a perfect system.
I like
perfect
the ones
geometry.
The early adopters of the argument on the Globe side didn't realise how the argument was structured and their requirement, as you put it, for a geometric horizon. Now, I've been screaming this down the mic for 3 months now. So, you know, anyone who's familiar with the show will know I've been shouting, you know, you require a geometric horizon. And it's very true. But the guys who are like, oh, we can solve this problem, it's refracted. And they don't realise how much pain they're causing their own model moving forward, not trying to figure out how to justify a geometric existence, but a non-geometric horizon, unlike the one in their model. They think that they've got to win. It's like, no, what you've just done is shot yourself in the head, because this is your declaration that we don't have what you require anymore, and that's precisely what we declared when we exposed the Black Swan in the first instance. You only need one to debunk the geometry. Once it goes beyond the geometric limits, it'll never be geometric again. And everyone's like, nah, it's a dead swan, it doesn't matter, because they haven't paid attention to the actual argument. And then they go in headlong to try and debunk it and declare just how non-geometric it is, exactly as the argument was set out. And you're like, well, that's what the argument is. You don't have a geometric horizon. You just didn't read between the lines. You read the modus tollens argument and assumed that the first premise was wrong based on your geometry. Oh, what? That's a straw man. We don't have your geometry. Oh, well, welcome to Flat Earth. But they don't get it. They think they're winning.
No, they just give up.
It's almost like they forgot that they used to debate with us about the physicality of whatever was making that boat or building or whatever disappear bottom up. That used to be the curve doing that. The physical hump or the bulge or whatever word you want to use to describe it, it was physical. It's always physical, according to them. So, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, they forgot what they were...
Oh, Black Swan happened.
They forgot what they were fighting for. You're absolutely right. Any fundies in the chat? Hello, anybody in Discord? I don't know. I don't recognise any of these names.
They're handy in the chat, but they don't seem to want to come and actually talk.
Well, we're lucky.
Did you say they forgot what they were fighting for, Nathan?
Yeah, they forgot they were fighting for there being an Earth curve obstruction. Like when they argued for this picture on screen now, they argued that the bottom of the island was missing because this physical line they claimed was a physical geometric horizon calculable in their geometric maths was obscuring the bottom of the island. Well, that's their model. That's what their model implies. But they drew a straight tangent to this point when inside of Profile, Muppet Vision, Orthographic View, where you see your side of your own head. Well, when they were doing that, they were using standard geometry to the geometric horizon because it's absolutely necessitated in a geometric model, and then utilising that geometry to give them their terrestrial refraction value, 7/6r, again utilising the r value that gives them the geometric horizon in the model. Well, we've only got one horizon. A horizon is the apparent position where the sky meets the ground, or in this case, the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. Well, no, bottom of the Isle of Man, and how much it's being obscured by that physical geometric horizon. And that's what they drew their straight line for a tangent to, while simultaneously claiming that that straight line tangent to a physical geometric horizon based on an r value also gave them a refractive value based on the r value and the geometry. So the entire thing collapsed upon itself when you point out that no, you don't have a physical geometric horizon anymore. And their defense to that is say, oh, we'd only see it if it was all the air was sucked out. You're like, no, you claim you see it based on your geometry. That's what you're claiming is obscuring the Isle of Man, claiming boats are going over. That's what you say the sunset's behind. That's the physicality of your sphere Earth that you think you're standing on, proven out by its physical geometry in your geometric maths and its geometric horizon. And then their reply to that, nah, we only see a refracted one. Oh, well then bye-bye globe geometry, moron. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is they didn't forget about shit. All right. They realized very quickly how devastating the Black Swan horizon is. And therefore they immediately had no place else to go except for to claim optics. And now they're trying to dump optical refraction on top of terrestrial refraction to account for, Black Swan incidents.
Yeah, I would agree.
They didn't forget about a damn thing.
I would say
they're that intellectually dishonest.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I would say that they didn't forget. What they're trying to do is Jedi mind trick everybody into thinking, yes, we have never argued that the geometric horizon was physical. We've never argued that, right? Like Rumpus and Brenda and all of them. That's what they're saying now. We've never argued that. Well, really, because I've been here for a few arguments with that when you said the same thing. Luckily, Nathan tapes these things. They're on record. You morons arguing about how geometric your horizon is supposed to be.
I have a question concerning that, though, Chocolate. Beyond Brenda and Rumpus, has anybody else actually gone that far?
Yeah,
Like-
loads of them. I've got them all documented. You've got an Orthodox doing it, you've got Kosho doing it, you've got AB Science doing it, you've got Simon Dan doing it. They're all doing it. They're all towing the
wow.
same exact line.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, that's the bad part, man. That they've reneged. They've reneged on their
Go over to
geometry.
Jim Panda's server. I'm sure that's the fucking spawning ground of all of that crap.
Maybe.
That's just my opinion or my guess.
What, the spawning ground for them relinquishing the necessitated geometric horizon from their geometric model? That's a great ground for spawning arguments that put nooses around anybody who argues for it.
Yeah, the spawning ground for their terrible arguments. Yeah, sorry to cut in on.
Yeah, the argument was carefully phrased, and their rebuttal was anticipated. Their rebuttal is to say we don't have a geometric horizon, you fools. And we laugh at them and go, haha, welcome to Flat Earth then. What's this one marked with an X? We haven't got two. No, we only see one. The one we see is based on this one. So not this one. So that one's the second one then. Well, no, we don't see it. No, you're damn right we don't. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, that's actually man, that is the best point. And the way you said it, it's like twisting the knife.
Yeah, you tell us just how much we don't see your geometric necessitated horizon when we've only got one of them. Your geometric horizon still described as the apparent position where the sky meets the ground now, isn't it? But it isn't the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. It's a second position that only exists in your model. It's not the horizon we see, like you tell us with a hand wave. Well, we're going to just start repeating your hand wave start that again. We're going to start repeating your Jedi hand wave and just repeating it back in a slightly different tone. Oh, we don't expect to see the geometric horizon. Yeah, we don't expect to see a geometric horizon marked with an X labelled horizon in your model because we don't have one. That's correct. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Well, Nathan, they have a major blind spot that we all see on three of your top arguments. Coriolis. Now they're arguing there is no deviation when the argument is for deviation. Then there's gas pressure without a container. Now they're arguing you need a container to prove no gas, to have gas pressure without a container, and they use a container. Now this one, the geometric horizon. What are they doing here? They're saying we don't have one, but they need one. Everything is doublespeak and embarrassment whenever they come on. That's why they haven't been on for, who knows, what, a month, 2 months now on a regular basis? Because they just get killed by their own illogical statements.
Yeah, 2 months in Flat Earth terms, 3 weeks in real terms.
I'm still confused as to if your geometric horizon, if your geometric horizon distance can be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. If you believe that's a straw man, why are you even responding to it? Why are you answering? Why are you saying refraction explains it? But it shouldn't explain it, right? Because it's a straw man. Which I don't see how it's a straw man, because it's not about belief, it's about your math. This is your math.
Yeah, they're so used to
Because if this is a straw man, then your entire globe model is a straw man.
Yeah, I asked Quantum Racer to add that to the presentation on the Black Swan. If you claim that the premise of a physical geometric horizon based on globe geometry is a straw man, the response to that is welcome to Flat Earth. So the premise that we have a physical geometric sphere beneath our feet and you can measure it with physical sphere geometry, that's a straw man, is it? Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah. And they think that the sentence, oh, we don't believe that, is going to help them. Nobody addressed any beliefs there. It doesn't say any belief about anything in the modus tollens, so I don't understand why you would come up with that. Unless you're just reaching, of course, because you can't respond. The only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it's been condensed down now, this argument, to a single sentence. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then the distance to horizon can be no more than 1.225 the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's the argument. One sentence.
That's a wrap. That's it. We do see a horizon past 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So, therefore, Earth is not a sphere. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Hey, also, isn't refraction just like distortion?
If you like.
Right. So somehow this
Say again?
distortion is going to... Yeah, he said, yeah, if you like. So somehow this very distortion is going to give you an, say, an extra 10 miles of visibility.
That's what I was. That's what I was.
But
exactly what I
meanwhile,
was
you're
gonna
going to
say,
talk
man.
about how bendy the cranes are. It's great.
But that's a red herring against the actual argument. So the argument is very specific and about the horizon and the geometry of the claimed physical obstruction they call their geometric sphere edge horizon. Well, that's the argument. Sod all to do with any oil platforms. They're only useful for a marked distance. So the second oil platform is at 9.6 miles, I think. Well, therefore you can see that beyond that distance there is a horizon. Well, when people start saying, well, let's have a look at the oil platforms, and even Simon Dan said they were being obscured from the bottom up. He's like, why are these being obscured from the bottom up? It's like, are you insane? Do you actually think that while simultaneously telling us about why the horizon's behind the oil platforms, you're going to claim that they're being obscured by what exactly? the horizon that's been refracted behind. You know, it's beyond mental gymnastics to put the horizon in a refracted position behind where it's supposed to be obstructing things. But beyond that, Simon Dan's got it behind things where it's behind where it's supposed to be obstructing things, but also simultaneously obstructing things from the bottom up. I mean, he's so stupid, Simon Dan. How he's escalated to the levels he has, I don't really understand it, because he is so stupid. Literally, he's arguing about a refracted horizon, the form of physical obstruction being behind, and then asking the question, why is stuff being blocked from the bottom up? Just idiot. Complete idiot.
Do you remember when...
Yeah, let's not forget about how perspective affects our sight, too. If you're looking down a long hallway, and you get on a ladder and you put your head up to that roof, things are going to disappear from the top down. So, you know, wowee, Simon Dan, or no Simon Dan.
There was an echo there.
He's implying that the refracted horizon that he's justifying is simultaneously obscuring things from the bottom up in the near foreground when there's nothing in the foreground. The horizon's behind. But he's asking the question, why is it being obscured from the bottom up? In the... chronologically, the second released Black Swan under that title. So, in that image...
Do you even think he realizes he's doing that, though?
He doesn't understand the argument. He's rebutting an argument he simply doesn't understand. So therefore he's going to make some complete nonsense statements, like justifying why a physical claim to be sphere edge obstruction is behind things it's supposed to be obscuring, but then ask the question, why are they being obstructed? What are you nuts? Just clearly thick.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just experiencing echo here. Do you remember Rumpus's first go at this, his very first answer, when this first came up with the Black Swan? Do you recall that?
Yeah, he said it was the Matrix.
Yeah, he said it's a glitch in the Matrix. How he has moved on. Why did he even say that?
Well, he's moved his position onto the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. In other words, say, no, I don't want to put this photo into my collection. This doesn't fit my group. My shot group doesn't like this photo, so we'll ignore this one. Texas sharpshooter fallacy. I made a video titled exactly that, where Rumpus repositions his argument to, no, we just don't accept that picture. We'll accept ones that correlate with our model.
Yeah, he's dishonest. Super.
They all
disgusting.
Yeah,
no, they all
me. Well, since the Black
They
Swan...
all bring up the same nonsensical picture from BMLSB 69 that's supposed to be, to them, a white swan. Right? They still bring it up, even though QE deaded that whole notion the first time he presented the Black Swan by saying that this white swan does not debunk or negate the existence of the black one. Guys haven't gotten it yet, man. I'm gonna have to put like another 4 months on top of the 14 months, already, because this is getting out of control.
Right. Shout out to
I will
Shatlas.
say one thing about Rumpus.
Just 1 second. I'll just shout out to Shatlas Bassoon. He says, Circulus in probando. Go in peace. Okay. Thank you very much for the super chat, Shatlas Bassoon. Sorry, Travis.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will say one thing about Rumpus, though. he did get into an argument with Zanuck about like the second law of thermodynamics and vacuum and air, and Zanuck's position was that it's a reversible process, and Rumpus was having to tell him, no, it's an irreversible process. So I'll say,
Well,
good on him there.
Well, hang on. Don't be so easily saying that, because Rumpus has said that he is the smartest person in the baller community, and everyone pales in comparison to him, except for this one guy I can't remember he mentioned, but he's not close to Rumpus. So Rumpus has put on the crown of the smartest guy in that community. So of course he's going to correct them, because he's got to be the smartest guy in that dumb community. Self-crowned, by the way.
Yeah, I saw a video.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's right.
Go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he's right, though. I recall reading that. I think it's from Stanford. It talks all about entropy. So, yeah, second law of thermodynamics, got vacuum chambers, the whole 9 yards. Talks about air pressure being an approximation, or not the air pressure, but the air behavior, gas behavior being approximation. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. But I'm pretty sure it's an irreversible process, because that's that's a lot of what entropy is, and the fight against it.
Do you remember, Travis? I asked him a question a couple of shows ago. Well, not a couple of shows ago, maybe a week ago, on the geometric horizon. I said, Rumpus, is it an actual location? 1.23 miles at 1 foot observer height, based on 3959 radius. That didn't go too well for him.
Does someone need to play the little clip of the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth?
Oh,
Or how about meow, 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 meow?
I don't have it to hand. Sorry. I would if I did, but I don't.
Yeah, he might need to try to work out whether it applies to the Earth or not. So, I think
what kind of chocolate? What kind of law is it? What's the title?
it would be a natural law.
So it applies to nature, then.
Nature, yes.
So that where would you establish such a law?
In the natural world?
So here, on terra firma.
Yeah, here, yeah.
So definitely,
I would think so.
so figured out based on what's happening in nature and applicable to nature. So definitely applies to the Earth.
Right.
Unless you've got a fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum, which would be violated by that law of nature. In those circumstances, you can declare, as the smartest globehead in the bunch, that a law of nature doesn't apply to your religious belief in a heliocentric model. So it doesn't apply to the heliocentric model. Obviously, you've got these lights in the sky being physical bodies of gas that aren't dispersing into the sky vacuum also. So obviously, natural law doesn't apply to models, because they're just models. The heliocentric globe Earth model is just a model, so natural law doesn't apply because it's just a model. It's not really the world we're standing on. We're not actually on a sphere. It's just a philosophical way of seeing things and conceptualizing things. The fact that from a very early age, for some strange reason, we've been told to actually reify our existence into a sphere-shaped one is neither here nor there. They make it explicitly clear that it's just a model. And people like Rumpus, when describing said model, will tell you that natural law doesn't apply to it. Well, that should say it all. If natural law doesn't apply to the model, it's not the world you live in. That would be a reification fallacy.
Well,
Matrix law.
the thing is, if the second law of thermodynamics happens to describe in its definition, it describes its use in an isolated system. Would that mean it doesn't apply to the Earth, Nathan?
Well, they use the isolated system, which doesn't exist anywhere ever, to simplify the law to explain how it works. There are certain parameters that will apply differently to open versus closed systems, but the law of entropy applies universally. It's a natural law. The oversimplification using something that is not in existence, i.e. an isolated system, which does not exist in nature, is merely a way of describing a natural law. Simple.
So
otherwise they wouldn't be
like
able to fully
the
describe
ideal
it.
gas law, right? Something like that.
It's one or the other, Travis or Chocolate, I don't mind who.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chocolate. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. He's giving way to you. Go ahead, Travis.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say so they do that in order to fully describe it from all angles.
Yeah, to simplify it.
So, sort of, kind of like
Or simple.
the ideal gas law, right? They use it to describe, but there's no ideal gas, right?
No, there's no ideal gas. There is no such animal. It doesn't exist. You're not going to produce an ideal gas to show me exactly in line with ideal gas law what's going to occur, because there is no such thing as an ideal gas. Does that mean that gas law doesn't apply? Well, no. It's describing how gas behaves. Of course it applies. But when describing it in an oversimplistic manner, you'll use it with this ideal gas just to make it clear and simple.
Well, also because gases ideally behave this way.
Well, that's kind of clumsy, but yeah, if you like. It's more the fact that if you're going to describe entropy, or show a demonstration, like the guy with the bromine, right? So he's showing an entropy increase, and he opens a valve between a vacuum and some gas, and shows that it fills the available volume. As soon as he opens it, it instantaneously fills the available volume, and he explains that you're just seeing an increase in entropy. Well, that's the second law of thermodynamics. It is the entropy law. Well, he's doing that in a closed system. Well, suddenly, hold on. A lecturer on the second law of thermodynamics describing entropy. No, that can't be right, because it only applies to isolated systems. Well, why was his demonstration done in a closed system then? Well, for one reason, you couldn't have gas pressure without that container. He'd need that to make the demonstration. It's an absolutely necessary antecedent. That's what an antecedent is. It's required. In the first instance, he must have a container to make this demonstration possible. And he's demonstrating an increase in entropy. As he opens the valve, the bromine fills the vacuum. Fairly straightforward stuff. That's not an isolated system though, is it? No, it's a closed system. But it's absolutely still applicable to demonstrate that which is described on paper with an isolated system. Shock horror, it still applies to the closed system.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe he didn't confirm with Rumpus to see if he could operate that in an isolated system. Maybe he wasn't on Earth when he did that. I don't know. Clown show.
Well, let's not forget now the show rated Rumpus quite high. Quite high indeed.
Say that again. The show rated Rumpus quite high.
Yeah, I remember we were rating all the ballers. It was a Rumpus category, Brenda category, or Dawn category.
Oh, that meaningless, arbitrary assignment that we gave during a joke fun show. That one. Yeah, it's set in stone. That's like basically a yardstick.
Hey, that was a blast.
I think it still holds up as a concept.
Any ballers in Discord?
It's based on 3 years of interactions. It should
They're
hold
still
up.
measuring time in the table, Chocolate.
But it's meaningless. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if Dawn Treader came in with an argument. His prior intellectual prowess is irrelevant. What's relevant is his quality of argument presented in the moment. Same applies for credibility, criminal intent. In other words, there could be a jailbird, multi-murdering son of a bitch locked behind bars who happens to join the show because he gets access to Skype during a jailbreak and then puts forward a really good Globe argument. Are we going to go, well, you're a jailbird? No, we're going to try and address the argument. That's all that matters. So their level of intellectual superiority over each other is nigh on irrelevant.
Well, on that note, we have a baller in here, Extreme Sis.
Good to have you.
Extreme Sis.
Hello.
Maybe
Extreme
he's shy.
Sis. Hello.
Maybe he's shy because we're live. Well, while we're waiting for a reaction from him, big shout out to the 148 people who've made their way to this live show. You're watching
Shout
on
out,
Nathan
everybody.
Oakley.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel and you did want to watch live, there'll be a link in the info box and comment section so you can check out these shows when they do run live.
Isn't it quite apparent that when Chocolate cites the really is level statement from George Musser, that this is a disconnect for the ballers? They have to go to a model and some kind of mathematical description of things that doesn't apply to the really is physical nature of the Earth that they're trying to reify into a globe.
Yeah, when describing the stellar horizon or the celestial horizon, in the description of it, it says the imaginary line drawn between, and then Quantum Eraser stops reading and says, "Oh no, we work at the really is level here," unlike Musa and his cronies.
Yeah, they use so many things that aren't real to try to validate the model to be real.
Can we hear that quote, Chocolate, if you're around?
What we can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level. George Musser, 2019.
And with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 as the after show begins now. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
So was that guy active in chat or something, Travis? Yeah, he was, yeah. Talking about the Black Swan. Oh, wow. We didn't get to talk to him on the live show, but maybe he'll chat now.
I'm still not understanding what's the difference between chatting now and chatting in the live show? It's still going to be aired eventually.
No, psychological, maybe. I've no idea.
Say again? Nathan?
I said it's
I
just
said,
psychological.
what's the difference? Oh, well, go ahead, Nathan.
That's just psychological difference. If you've got an audience, people get stage fright. Whereas if there's no audience, it's just your present company, then it's, for some people, psychologically easier to have the discussion when there's no one listening, or no audience listening, so to speak, even though there might be an audience later on.
And there's also the fact
later,
that there's
later
more
on they
ballers.
could just ignore that one.
And since there's
They
more
can't
ballers in
ignore
the
it
after
while they're
show.
here now debating it. Oh, I'm sorry, Righteous.
I think they're the two are connected, Righteous. So there's more ballers in the after show. So therefore, they might have been watching live with no intention of joining during the live show, but then because they can't listen to the live show, they'll join, and then they get roped into a conversation in the after show. But that's the same thing, isn't
Well,
it?
more ballers mean there's a more chance that somebody will pipe up.
Not lately.
Who is that laughing?
Matthias.
That was me, Matthias. The ballers that actually wised up, they wait till the show's over. That way, they're not exposed on the lot, on air. Which is why I think we need like an after show live streaming.
Yeah, there's no psychological way around this. I've thought of all of them. So, yeah, the way it is, I set up the show. If it happens to be the case that somebody joined really early on and there's a good conversation, I even edited out the very first. I've never done this before, but yesterday, the very first conversation within 2 minutes of the show between me and 10th Man about false dichotomy was just a cracking conversation. So I edited that out and republished it. But that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the pre-show. The after show is the after show, right? We're not live anymore. There's nobody watching. It's just us talking. But yes, it will be published later. And I think psychologically, there's no way of undoing that. FUGXD. Can you pop yourself on mute?
Bug, you're hot.
Yeah, I guess I brought that up, Nathan, because I don't think in those terms. It's just so foreign to me. If you're going to speak up, whether it's a live show or recorded show, and it's going to be aired later, it's not like this is not being recorded. So why would they talk afterwards, which they haven't lately since the Black Swan? But just, I agree, it is psychological, but I don't see the merit to it because it's still going to get aired and we're going to hear you.
I can only give the same answer, 10th Man, as it was exactly the same question.
I know, it's just weird because my brain, the wires in my brain don't work that way. It's like if someone says, "What's your viewpoint on this?" Whether it's taped or not taped, if I have a viewpoint, I will share it. I'm not worried about if it's live or taped.
Yeah, but you're a very confident individual.
Is it confidence or
you're
is
not
it...
worried about coming on and saying something like, "Oh, I don't know, air is not the atmosphere," and then having that, having your toes held to the fire after that for 3 years, or something like the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth,
Well, I think a thought hit my head when you said that. Nathan, what?
I was just gonna say it takes a while sometimes to get used to being live too. So it's like a work in progress. But go on, 10th Man.
No, I was going to say, if anything, I don't have pretense. Maybe they have pretense.
I don't know. A lot of times, maybe it is psychological because a lot of times I forget that, I don't forget that we're live, but I tend to forget how many people are listening, and I don't really care about it. I just feel sometimes like I'm just talking to Nathan, 10th Man, Arwen, and maybe one or two heads in Discord. It's not until I go to Discord I'm like, holy shit, there's like 40 people in here. Or go to the live stream and it's like, holy shit, there's like 300 people in here. I don't think about that shit anymore.
Yeah, yep. But you are you on the show and off the show. You're not a different person.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. You don't have pretense. If someone asks you a question, you say yeah or no because you're either educated in that subject or not. You're not worried about it. These people who are afraid to come on are worried about something.
Don't you guys remember the Seinfeld joke where he says people would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy? Or I think it was called eulogy.
Right. They'd rather be dead than doing a performance, in other words.
Well, that was an example of being in front of an audience is something that made me needed to overcome.
Statistics say more people fear death than public speaking. And I don't know if this is considered public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely, without question. On the main channel, although that show didn't go out live on the main channel, there's often in excess of 300 people watching. And even in your proximity, you've got often in the live show 12, 10 people plus another 3 or 4 on the panel. So there's like, sometimes up to 20 people on the live show just in your vicinity and 300 plus people listening. Yeah, that's definitely public speaking.
And that's a thing for me because I've always been a pretty shy guy. Like, I'm not good with public speaking. So that's why, to me, sometimes me just forgetting how many people are listening or whatever, that I think that's a good thing for me. But I don't, maybe it's because I'm now used to it a little bit. Because I had to think about that too. Is this considered public, speaking? If nobody is, seeing me actually speak, like, it's weird. But yeah, you're right.
I'll be honest. When I was first on here, I was more shy than so.
Well, when you go out in a public speaking format and do something, even if it's just your voice, you're going to be heard, you're going to be recognized, and people are going to get to know you up to certain degrees. And that is out there. And when I started YouTube, like, I had to really like suppress my fear, because it was like, oh my God, I have no idea how clumsy I'm going to come across. And if I screw up somewhere half the way, that's just going to remain out there like this bad moment, It's going to haunt me. But yeah, because I kept on just doubling down, putting in more effort, just calming down, then it transited into development. Like, the nerves calmed down and started to reroute themselves to become instead creative energy and staying
Fear has to
focused
be
on the
conquered.
subject.
Why does it hold you back?
Wow, it takes all that. If you're yourself and just be yourself, it should be no problem. I never had that. Maybe because I got a big mouth.
That's because you're from New York, brother.
If you naturally have things to blow off steam in your culture, typically, then you'll be less inclined to have that problem because you're already used to being loud and heard.
Hey,
I got
QE.
you. I got you.
Good to have you.
I wasn't trying to insult you.
Nah, bro, you're good.
No, people from New York never insult anybody.
Of course not.
And they're never allowed, right?
Why would we?
Well, that's right. I mean, I've been to New York so many times. I get along with all those people, especially the cabbies. Everyone speaks their mind. It's refreshing. It's black and white. It's no pretense. I love New York people.
I heard it is good pizza there.
Good noodles.
Good noodles.
Why
Oh,
is
in my
why does everything
opinion,
go
you're
to
very
food?
smart.
Yeah, that was a
You're not
Matrix
afraid
reference.
to speak
Right?
at all.
Is he in
Driving
New
through
York?
the city.
Is it set in New York?
I don't know, could be. But it just made me think, like, the scene where Neo's driving in the car after being awoken to the Matrix. And it is kind of like a New York he's driving through. And then it's like, oh, look at that place. Oh, good noodles.
Hey,
I
Righteous,
remember
why is Bev muted in Discord, Righteous?
Shouldn't be.
Babs?
Bev. Is he muted in
Say that name
Discord? I'm
again?
getting a message.
What's his screen name in Discord?
No, Bev is. I just saw a message saying Bev is why am I muted in Discord? He wants to chat in Discord. Did you mute him, Righteous?
Oh, in Discord. Okay, text chat it probably means. I don't know. Maybe another mod did it. Hold on, I'll check.
Yeah, if you can unmute him. He's trying to talk to somebody.
He's on the panel, so he can talk and they can hear him.
All right, Bev, tell us.
Well, I don't know. Somebody just put in the Discord that they weren't going to come on the voice because you were shouting, screaming at obscenities. And I thought, is that right? Is that allowed? I seem to have got muted.
Really?
Whoever the fuck that was, right? Get out.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, if you can't handle a little rough language when it is kind of called for in the social setup situation, yeah, stick to safe spaces and all that.
Go watch Star Wars.
You check my Venn diagram.
Yeah, people breathing. Got a little note underneath. was it red and not red? It was blue and yellow make green. I'm not the greatest with colours.
It has a source underneath it. Oh boy.
Yeah, I've watched
Can
it
I-
several times, so I know all the details. Actually, have a decent conversation about it with someone who's picked up on something.
Can I dovetail to what Arwen said?
Go ahead.
Okay, so when I was in high school, I was extremely shy, and my drama teacher pulled me aside and she said, you know, if you just pretend that you're not nervous, that you're not embarrassed, that you don't have self-esteem issues, no one else will know the difference. Everyone is only ever thinking about themselves. That was a paradigm shift.
Yeah, I remember that. I still keep forgetting it though, but but it's a very good tip. It's a good tip to basically find a Zen moment. It's like, wait,
Oh, it
nobody
changed my
really
life.
cares actually. You know, they might act like they care, but they don't really. And then it's like no more worries.
It literally changed my life, and it did become second nature. And over time, I didn't have any of self-esteem issues or nervous or anxious around other people, and I can speak in front of big crowds now.
Yep.
Anticipated Vanilla Sane interruption.
Yeah, that was good. Very good.
But what I've learned also is that people that typically have very severe nerves for stage fright or performance fright, could be of all kinds, you know, that once they get it under control, that same energy that typically arrives before they got it under control and gets in the way typically does come back, but in a better way, and it actually becomes this moment of energy that just arises and helps your performance. So
Well, that's all the time we've got for Dr. Nathan's life coaching. We'll see you next week.
Now, I do want to say something that dovetails off that. The people we're talking about do talk, but they just refuse to talk on this show. But they're on other chats they're going 100 miles an hour with their rubbish. And we're asking them to come here with their rubbish. All of a sudden, they're shy.
well, to be fair, when I go around, like, take a short look over at Jose's or whatever, you know, Ladder of Debates and Nathan and QE get mentioned a lot. So, even though they're not here talking, they're definitely talking about us, about Nathan and QE
Yeah, but my
on a
point.
regular basis.
No, you're right. But my point is, when they're in Discord and muted, and we ask the housekeeping questions or something else, they've just gone silent. But they're not silent over there, so it has nothing to do with shyness, is what I'm saying.
I haven't watched one of his shows, and what are they talking about?
In the
The
Discord
usual.
server,
Same, pretty much the same thing.
I don't pay attention to it. I
They're a
literally
bunch
have
of
it closed
cowards.
down. I don't watch the Discord live chat. Occasionally, like I think twice in the time I've been using it, I've gone in there because someone couldn't get it to me by a piece of information by any other means. But I collapse it down, and I just don't watch it. I don't care, because they're only trying to convince themselves in the voice chat. Dedicating stuff to text is very good psychologically for making a convincing argument more manifest than it was before you put it to paper. You know, same for dedicating things to memory. So if they're trying to convince themselves, it's a far more effective way of convincing themselves by trying to project their own conviction onto somebody else. So that's what they do in the voice chat all day long. And it's like, I'm not going to be your punching bag for your projection all day long. That's what they do in the comments. Same thing. It's like, nah, occasionally I'll see the benefit of putting out the information that's necessary for the argument and debunking any claimed rebuttals. But on the whole, most of the time it's just them projecting the fact that they want to convince themselves of the argument they're putting to you. And if they win, well, then they've done a good job. So if it's left unchallenged, then they've done a good job and they've convinced themselves. Well done. Round of applause.
But technically, what they do in the chat and all that, what they typically all do, convincing themselves, is just they're just performing their religion. You know, it's like the Globers witnesses; they have to do it, and they seem kind of like demoralized. Even Jehovah's Witnesses have seemed demoralized because they have to do it, but they do it. and they do it the best they can. And the ballers are kind of like that too. Has anybody noticed that? Does kind of feel like that, doesn't it now?
Well, other than it being deeply insulting to Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah.
Well, they are kind of a bit
The
of
the ballers aren't even knocking on my door anymore.
Oh,
I got
aren't
something
they?
to say.
No,
If you
they're
got
not. They're
something to say,
avoiding
say it to their
ringing the
face.
bell.
Well, they still hang around constantly around our
Yeah,
channels.
I'm not talking about the chat. I'm talking about these other shows. Over the past couple weeks, I just haven't had a chance to get to listen to stuff because there's some really good material out there. If anyone hears any really good stuff, make sure you send that to me. Appreciate that. And has anyone heard of Fight the Flat Earth? The Fight the Fat Earth, whatever.
Fight the tight shirt.
Yeah. What's he up to? Mr.
cares?
Angular Velocity.
He's probably looking for an even bigger platform to be the globe debater. Because it doesn't matter like how crazy he starts to look argument-wise, he just keeps on going. It's like, yeah, I can do more. It's like he doesn't literally know what he's doing. But he keeps on going and he wants more. He wants bigger platforms.
Yeah, I mean that last debate with Nathan Thompson, that was horrible. Like, dude, really?
Hang him up.
Hold on, I just want to plug that video. So, what number Ballbusters was that, please? Quantum Eraser?
What? Oh, which one? Tomorrow's?
No. What was the number?
No.
For flat,
It wasn't a
Flat Earth?
Ballbusters. It was one of the QE lives.
Oh, okay. What's the title of the video?
Tuesday.
What was the title of Tuesday's video?
1 second.
Thanks. So while he's digging that out, check out the Quantum Eraser video where he pulls apart a lot of the nonsensical rhetoric spewed by Fight the Flat Earth in a debate with Nathan Thompson, primarily, although other quotes were cited, equally as embarrassing. But it was all compiled into one big shit show that is Fight the Flat Earth and his nonsense. And that's on Quantum Eraser channel. The show is called
QE Live. Craig, Fat the Fat Earth, crushed and toe tagged.
That's on the Quantum Eraser channel. Be here or be sphere. Also, one of the older Ballbusters, because Ballbusters is a bi-weekly event, and the in-between weeks you get a copy of some of the older Ballbusters now being released for the first time on Quantum Eraser's channel, the home of Ballbusters now. So this week's Ballbusters is number...
Jeez, I don't. That's quick,
Get on your game, John.
Not on my game. I don't have the fucking site up. Come on, dude.
You said this week's Ballbusters is really important to get plugged. That was the last message I got from you.
Yeah, it is. Not the damn number of it.
Oh, well, what's the... It doesn't matter. That number's not relevant. It's just the topic. That's really what I want to plug.
Oh, I thought you said number.
Yeah, I did.
You said, and the number is...
Yeah, just for easy reference. But if you know what the subject's covering, then that's perfect.
Oh, yeah. It's the Ball-Tard Brain Trust. It goes down in flames or something like that, man. It's Professor Dave, Rumpus, Soundly, LK,
Oh, was this about their little hangout in which Rumpus dedicated himself to say, "Oh, we need to stop the physicists from telling people that gravity is a force."
Yeah. It's epic,
Rumpy.
man. It's one of my favorite ones. It's epic. You got to tune in, man. I can't wait.
So that's going to be at 6 p.m. UK time on Saturday, which is Saturday the 28th. So be here or be sphere. That's on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Check it out.
Those 10th Man Dishes get a shout out.
Yeah, you can plug what you like.
Yeah, 10th Man Dishes, cooking show. Come and join. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
But
go ahead, Arwen.
You got lovely food, but there's not really any cooking going on, though. But
I knew Arwen was going to come in, man.
Don't watch it when you're hungry, because it'll just make you more hungry.
Yeah,
Arwen, you can
man's wife is like the most amazing cook ever.
Arwen, you can think of it as cooking though.
Freaking Arwen trolling 10th.
He's totally trolling me. He's totally trolling me, but I don't mind it.
He thinks you're catfishing. you're not. You're not really the
No. I'm bringing out the modus trollens argument.
He does. I have fun with Arwen in there back and forth. He's fun.
That's Arwin, Arwijn. His channel has a show daily, 2 p.m. Amsterdam time, 1 p.m. UK time. It's called Flat Earth Early Bird. So be here or be sphere daily on the Arwin channel, Arwijn. Check it out.
Yeah. Nathan is ace.
I like your show. I check it out every day. Every day I'm setting up the show, I've got your show. And one of the reasons I knew there was something screw going on with the live shows was because I didn't find your show. I'm like, where's Arwin? This ain't right. This is ruining my day. Already I'm annoyed at YouTube. And then I had to find you out and search you out on your channel, go to your videos, and then all was well. Other than there was nobody bloody watching. There was like 25 people in your live stream. And typically you get 50 to 70, sometimes more. And you're like, where's all the people? And I know exactly why they all are. They're not there because they don't know you're live. Hence
They're on my cooking show.
So
it's an upload, right?
Yeah, and by the way, concerning YouTube issues, also noticed yesterday that Owen Ben's latest channel on YouTube has been deleted again. Now that happens every now and then, of course, but Mountain Bear also, like related channels, all just got deleted.
Aren't they just mirror channels, albeit with a slight...
No, they were originals.
Yeah, but
Mountain Bear was like his
this
original
video.
channel.
He had that one video, like a Globe Earth pilot or something. I wanted to see it. It got taken down. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
It sucks. I heard it was good too.
I mean, yeah, he's not allowed on YouTube, and I thought that would happen eventually. I hadn't noticed myself, to be honest, but lots of people were doing like bear cave clips and various others. Eventually, the same thing. They'll find the same fate. You know, he as an individual is banned off YouTube. Does that mean that suddenly, if you're not him and you're mirroring all of his stuff off DTube or wherever he's publishing it, that's acceptable? Well, clearly not.
Well, that's not what Mountain Bear does, though. Mountain Bear does take voice clips from Owen Benjamin's show and then makes his own cartoon of it. It's great, and it's very creative, and there's literally no reason to delete that at all. Other than
I didn't know they were him. Okay, now I do know the context. So yes, I've seen those cartoons. And that's been I'm a bit lost for words. I can't believe that's been taken down. That's absolutely original content.
No.
Has he had like?
And now I'm pretty sure that he has backup on unauthorized.tv and all that. But still, it's a great shame. It was a good channel.
Yeah, he had Globe Earth Sniper. Did you see that? So Globe Earth Sniper's these two cartoon characters, and the one saying, "Right, shoot the guy. We can see him. Shoot him." He's like, nah, I'm gonna start factoring in Coriolis deviation. And the other guy's like, look, every time you do this, you miss. Come on, just shoot him. He's right there. No, I'm gonna factor in the spin of the Earth. And then he shoots and misses.
Damn it! I didn't get to see it, man. Where can I find that shit?
Yeah, it got taken.
You might find a copy of it. Just search Globe
It may
Earth.
still be on unauthorized.tv, but you have to pay for that. So it's Owen Benjamin's own site.
I'm sure one of his bears got that video, man. I need that. I want to see that.
Just search Globe Earth Sniper, and you might find it.
Yeah, I'll try that. That might help.
Hey, Cosmonauta, you friggin' knuckle dragging clown.
Who
Why
you
don't you
talking
come
to?
in here to this little circle jerk we got going on here, echo chamber, and see what you could lay down. You're a wanker schmuck. Come on in here, schmuck.
Echo.
Got thrice echoing a bit, or is it turnip?
Got a full boat in here. Who's echoing?
Yeah, we've got a full boat. So go on, fill us in. Who's moaning in the peanut gallery?
Yeah, Cosmonaut. He's your regular wanker. Wouldn't know his ass from damn pipe wrench. Come on in here.
Cosmo Schmuck now.
Yeah, that's what he is. Schmuck. Good one. Cosmo Schmuck.
Can't see anybody in here called that. Maybe it's just in the chat.
Yeah, he's in the chat. Chat troll, keyboard warrior, real scumbag.
You want to add something thrice?
I'm sorry?
I just saw you were off mute. I didn't know if you wanted to add something.
Oh, I've been listening in, but I've also been working on a little message for QE on the side. I've just been letting you guys do your chat, but I had a few things to add or ask on a topic earlier, which was the second law of thermodynamics. That got into the talk for a bit, and I rather love that whole topic, but I'm having trouble conveying it to other people, and wanted to get some take on it, if you would.
Just on entropy in general?
Mainly to how to explain it, or like see where I'm going wrong, because there's an instance where the case I'm dealing with right now, the Newtonian Cavendish gravity is not being relinquished. So that's like a huge part of, I guess, the mental gymnastics of it. And even going along that train for a bit, there's a lot of begging the question, of course, and it just doesn't work out because it's not even the correct gravity to begin with, the correct pseudoscience, rather. But I don't know, it just seemed to...
Isn't it funny how that happens, though? Like, they don't want to relinquish it, but the very people that gave them that narrative have relinquished it. Is that funny?
Yeah, and it's beyond me as far as, like, I can't comprehend why the death grip onto this thing, but I'm just trying to dissect what's going on and mainly how to address it if I even can.
So are
but
you saying,
whatever the case may be.
Are you saying you're in a debate and the person you're debating with is reluctant to relinquish Newtonian, in quotes, gravity?
That is correct. Mass attracts mass.
I see. I mean, it's a discussion that we often have on the show because half of the time we're trying to battle with our opponent to parrot the right pseudoscience.
Yeah,
and their current
that's the
pseudoscience,
issue,
as pointed out by Chocolate, is not that pseudoscience. So if they want to use an 100-year out-of-date pseudoscience, then there's really not a great deal you can do other than point out that that isn't the current rhetoric. Your gravity is not a force, as declared. You know, you can quote a couple of astrophysicists if you wish. You know, Brian Cox, gravity is not really a force at all, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those words are given to them by their priests. And if they don't want to accept what their priests say, because their argument requires an out-of-date rhetoric, then, again, you can't really help those people. You just have to point out that that's not the current pseudoscience they should be parroting. Parrot the right bullshit, you funny globehead.
Yes, and that's exactly.
Yeah, at some point you might just have to just stop the communication. I mean, it's like if you won't move past this point, well, how can we progress? You know what I mean?
Can we work backwards? So if they are parroting the wrong rhetoric, Newtonian, then you go back to what QE did a couple of days ago, I think, and many times before. Newton never said those things. And it was 207 years later, somebody else put G into the thing. So you can show the evidence, but you can't make them believe it. But you don't have to stop between Einsteinian and Newtonian 100 years ago. You could just say, oh, you want Newtonian, mass attracts mass. Well, what did Newton actually say? And then show the next layer of the onion, and then the next layer. And if you've shown 3 or 4 layers of untruth and obfuscation of what Newton did say and didn't say, then, like Nathan said, you can't do much more than that.
Yeah, that was much more
I
crafty
think
though
that's
by
the
Quantum
unfortunate
Eraser.
part of it, because
He asked
I
Zanuck
found myself.
what the universal law of gravitation was and asked him to quote it. He had it up on screen and he inserted Big G.
So I guess there's not much more that can be done, because I've taken the angles that even you stated, and as far as like you can't get past if they don't want to relinquish the fact that it's not even the current up-to-date pseudoscience of that sort, then what are we even arguing? Because if
No, actually, if I may encourage you, you've done everything a human being could do to help another human being. And when it's over, they have their conscience bothering them if they're real people who are seeking truth. And if they're ballers who have seared their conscience, then they just going to hand wave dismiss what you've said. And whatever you could have done more or less wouldn't have helped anyway, because they seared their conscience to any truth. But whenever these shows explain things, the people who have not put the branding iron on their conscience are thinking about it and saying, I'm going to go check that out. Well, if they're not going to check it out, then what can you do for people who aren't going to check it out? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're dealing with fundamentalist religious zealotry. And if their particular brand of religious zealotry involves Newtonian gravity, mass attracting mass, and that is intrinsic to their religious belief, they're never going to relinquish it, no matter how much you try. Even if it's their own priests telling them it's wrong in this instance. No, it's not mass attracting mass, that's 100 years out of date. The current bullshit is pseudo-Ramonian four-space bending of conceptual mediums known as space-time. That's what gravity is currently. Conceptual mediums being bent based on the uneven distribution of mass. There's your cause and effect in your fantasy. That's your current pseudoscience. That's what your current gravity is. That's what it's defined as. Oh, what's that? You say, no, it's much more conducive to your argument if you use this old, out-of-date, 100-year-old rhetoric. Oh, well, good for you. Go in peace. In gravity you trust. It's just not the right gravity.
That's what I just couldn't get past, because it got to the point where, all right, let's go with that train for a bit, and it doesn't work either way. But there's no convincing out of it, as far as like if you don't want to let go to the concept that this Newtonian gravity is the thing that trumps the second law of thermodynamics. There's a big issue there.
Well, even if they did take... This is something that QE taught me a long time ago. Even if you... disclaimer it quickly. Even though this is true, Anthony Riley, Sleeping Warrior, doesn't like this argument because he argues heavily about the correct rhetoric of Einsteinian gravity. Whereas, in reality, even if you took both forces in full combination and tried to apply that to defy the second law of thermodynamics, it wouldn't. You can have both forces at full effect and it still wouldn't make any difference. The gas would still fill the space. Now, Mark Sargent does a really good job of describing this, and he did it on TV. He says if you've got a vacuum chamber above you in the room that you're in, and then you pull the cork on the vacuum chamber, what's going to happen? Well, the gas is going to shoot up into the vacuum. The gas will fill the space. Well, that's apparently, if you're going to assume either of those forces are in effect, still in defiance of those forces which are supposed to be in full effect at the ground level, that you're performing that demonstration. So the gas is still going to fill the space. Entropy is not going to be defied by either of those fictitious forces that they aren't anyway. In the case of Einsteinian gravity, it's not a force. But like you say, you don't necessarily get to win when they want to cling on to that particular part of their religious rhetoric. With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Again, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!